Alright everyone, welcome to another episode of Dungeon Crawlers, where we have author Jodi L. Milner on the show to talk about, well, what else? Books, writing, and Stonebearer's Betrayal, which is your first novel, or do you have other novels? I'm trying to find other things.
This is my debut novel,
Okay.
So it's my baby, and I'm super proud of it.
Okay, just checking because I'm like, if I didn't find anything and there's something out there, then I'm really in trouble because I wasn't finding anything.
I'd rather you check.
Yeah. So, debut novel. I know how that feels. It's like this amazing feeling because you put lots of work into it. Now it's on the shelf. It's out there. And, I mean, what does that feel like?
I was expecting to feel like a minor celebrity at this point. I wasn't expecting to feel completely terrified. There's so many new things that one wouldn't expect to be scary, but then you realize, oh, wait, I have to do this. This isn't my skill set. I still have to do this.
Yeah.
And it's boldly venturing into the great unknown, and I feel like I'm doing it like 8 times a day. So, while it's fun to do fun new things, I'm going to be really excited in about 2 weeks from now when the big push is kind of over and I can breathe again.
It is interesting. You know, you think you've done all the hard work writing the story, getting it down on the pages, turning it in, getting it accepted by a publisher. They're turning it into a book, and then you find out, oh my gosh, there's all this other stuff I still have to do? Are you kidding me?
And it's the stuff you're not good at.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, I am great at promoting and talking about other people's books and convincing people to buy those books, except for my own. It's like, I don't get it. I don't know why I can't do it for myself.
Oh, man, I'm so glad you were saying that, too, because I had the exact same problem. Like, my darling table mate from Local Authors last Saturday.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, everyone come meet my darling table mate. She's fantastic. Let her share her stuff with you. And here I'm just hiding. I'm like, what's with that? I'm like, maybe vicariously they'll come and look at my stuff because hers is cooler than mine, but mine's next to it. I'm cool vicariously.
Yeah. Yeah. It's my book's been out be out 2 years come next June, and I still am in that same boat where it's like, hey, check out this book, and oh, hey, there's that. Hey, here's mine. It's cool. But I'm like super excited about everyone else's. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's part of wanting to hide because you're afraid they're going to reject it and say, this sucks, and walk away. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, the paranoia is so real.
Yeah.
And I'm also just, looking forward to the one person who's like, you're amazing. I read this and it changed my life. That's like life goal right there. One person to say, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah.
But the rest of it is like, do I read my Amazon reviews or do I cower from them? Do I go to Goodreads and see what the trolls have to say, or do I hide from that too?
I've just learned to ignore those. Yeah. I actually had a person that bought my book and read it, and at this point, apparently, he's read it 31 times. And I'm just like, really? 31? Is it that
like,
great?
don't you have
but apparently so.
More wonderful things to do.
Yeah, so he's like, he messages me all the time. Book 2 done yet? Book 2 done? Because apparently he really loves it, which is fantastic and helps boost my ego a bit. But at the same time, I'm like, really? 31 times? Yeah.
I'm amazed that people keep track. Like, does he put hashtags in the front of the book?
I know,
How does this work? Because for me, I would lose track after 4.
Yeah. 4 times, anything above 4 reads, it's just, I've read it forever. Yeah.
Should not proceed to 3, not proceed to 5. 3, sir.
Yes. The holy
my geek
hand
is leaking.
grenade. There's nothing wrong with quoting Monty Python.
Oh, man, I swear. Don't get me started. Alrighty.
We will move on and talk about the book. Otherwise, we'll start talking about Monty Python and how my kids hate it. I know.
That's a whole different discussion.
I know.
Anyway.
I need to like hang him upside down and dunk their head in the toilet or something. But then I'll get in trouble. But oh well. All right.
Yeah.
So Stonebearer's Betrayal. Tell us a little bit about it, so for our listeners that don't know about it, and so forth. We'll go from there.
Alrighty. Hello, amazing listeners. Let me tell you about a really awesome book. I'm biased. I'm completely biased. My favorite way of describing it is if you love The Witcher video games, or if you've gone to read the books, I find a lot of people haven't. It's a lot like that with 100% less sex, which is perfect. It's a noble, dark, epic fantasy story that's a coming-of-age story as well. The main character is a girl that's being brought up in a small town, and her whole goal is to live a peaceful and happy life, but this is a fantasy novel, and clearly that can't happen. And so, her name's Katira. She ends up getting into situation after situation, and as she's learning more about herself and her world, she's discovering that it's not what she imagined it would be. All of these legends that she grew up with, that she's like, no, that's just a story. That couldn't happen. People with magic aren't real. Every single one of these things that she's grown up with is starting to come true. And for her, that's terrifying, but also very intriguing. And chaos ensues, and she saves the day.
I mean, I was just thinking as you're explaining, she just wants a normal, boring, mundane life. That would be a really boring book.
No kidding. You can't write a happy, boring book.
Unfortunately,
I have to torture them.
We love conflict and chaos, but that would be a very interesting book to ever read. Of Simon woke up, fed the chickens. He ate breakfast. He then went to work. I mean, that doesn't sound like an exciting book at all. So
I know, if he was a circus performer, his boring could be my fascinating.
Yeah.
Or his fascinating could be my boring. So.
Yeah. I mean, there was a quote, I can't remember who it was said, but basically it said writers, like, destroy lives, kill people, and yada, 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 all negative, bad things. And that's
there's that whole thing.
And that's a good day.
Well, aren't we supposed to chase them into a tree and then throw rocks at them?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. So, your main character, she wants a normal, mundane life, but things start unraveling or unfolding, showing her that things really aren't that mundane, and a lot of the secrets or fairy tales or so on are kind of real, and things start going crazy.
Absolutely crazy.
Okay.
And it's my favorite kind of crazy because it's mine and I get to put all my favorite tropes in there.
Yeah.
So I really like the noble hero, self-sacrificing idiot who everyone's like, no, you can't do that. And he's like, I will do it because it's the right thing to do. And everyone's like, please stop. We love you. You're going to die. Anyway.
Nice.
You have your favorite tropes, too.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Tropes are great. Now the question is, do you just use the trope as it is, or do you kind of twist it and make it your own?
Honestly, by the sheer power of putting it into words that came out of my brain, it's going to be different than anyone else's. Okay. But that's fantasy fiction for you. It seems like there is thousands of these little instances that end up in everybody's work, and you see it and you're like, I saw what you did there.
Yeah.
It's the horror equivalent of don't go down the stairs.
Yes.
Or, let's split up. It's, in fantasy, it's always like maybe they're the chosen one, or he's got a dark secret. It's probably magic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I mean, there's only so much we can do with tropes, and there's definitely a lot of repeating in them. I do like the fact that you have kind of the noble hero that always rushing in, because we don't. I don't think we see that a lot, especially to the point where they're pretty much putting themselves in harm's way all the time. There, as you were talking about that, there was a couple that came to mind, like Stern Brightblade from Dragonlance,
Mm-hmm.
Gowry from the anime series Slayers. He was probably the most annoying, dumb one. Guy was probably a little bit smarter than a box of rocks, but always charged in, had a huge heart, always getting the crap beat out of him. It was funny. But those characters are actually kind of very lovable, and we can relate to them in some ways because we want to be that way, but we just are too afraid to? I don't know.
Absolutely. My biggest character inspiration for this kind of noble self-sacrificing person, it comes down to like the whole Doctor Who franchise.
Okay, yeah.
Can you think of like the most perfect crazy person who's like, I'm going to save the world. I'm going to start by putting myself in front of 500 angry aliens who want to kill me and dominate them with the power of my own will.
And a sonic screwdriver.
And a sonic screwdriver, because clearly, why not?
Yeah.
It's his magic wand. It totally works.
Sometimes.
No,
no,
he's convincing.
Doctor Who is a great example of that. Quirky, just throws himself in front of things, and a lot of the times he resolves things just by some random dumb speech too. Yeah.
The power is in you.
Yeah.
You've seen what I've done before. Run.
Yeah, and his psychic paper. Yes. That's all.
I want one of those.
I mean, that's really.
I could get myself in so much trouble.
Yes. But that's literally all he has: a sonic screwdriver, psychic paper, and a box that travels around time.
Absolutely. But aren't the best characters ones that don't have, like, all the resources? Like, yeah. It's like MacGyver. You've got a paperclip, you've got a string, and all of a sudden he's made a bomb.
Yeah.
Practicality aside, that's impressive.
It is. Have you seen the new MacGyver TV series?
I kind of need Richard
Dean Anderson.
Richard Dean Anderson. I almost said Richard Paul Evans. That's not it.
No. I've been watching the new one. Yeah, it's enjoyable in its own different way, but instead of just randomly coming up with something, he actually explains how he's doing stuff, which is kind of cool.
Yeah?
Yeah, so...
I could see some people having issues with that, like when they explained midichlorians.
Yeah.
Like, the magic is gone now. That's not fun anymore.
I like it because it's like, ooh, this is teaching me new stuff to put into books. So, yeah. My writing brain is like plotting, like, ooh, hey, I can put that in. Now I know how that works, type stuff. Where before, MacGyver was just like, does this and that, and suddenly has the bomb. And I know it's kind of that magic, like you said, because it's like, ooh, that was cool. I wonder how he did it. I don't know.
Maintaining not plausible deniability. Shoot. Suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, I think both work still. Because if it's wrong, they can deny it. Well, we didn't know. It was just MacGyver and his magic. But
magical brain.
Yes.
We use the power of intelligence.
Yes.
There's nothing like a really intelligent character. I swear, that's why there's so many people that have fallen for the Lokis.
Yeah.
And the Sherlocks. And again, I'm going to bring Doctor Who up again, because they're like these crazy intelligent people, and that's extremely attractive to have a character that's not only super intelligent, but like they can use that intelligence to solve this stuff in a way you wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
I have one character that's kind of crazy, sexy, intelligent, and he's the one my editor might have fallen in love with, and I'm trying so hard not to kill him in the sequels, because he's kind of got his number up. So
no, I understand that. So my first book, I introduced a character that's kind of a jerk. He's smart. He's kind of a jerk. You kind of think he's the bad guy, but there's like a huge dynamic shift in his personality that happens in the second book. Even my editor was like, I actually kind of like him now. I thought he was a giant douchebag in the first book. Kind Because you get to see, you kind of, there's some flashback scenes where you see the softer side of this character, and now you kind of realize and understand this character more. So, and I didn't even plan that originally. It just came out that way, and it's so fascinating how sometimes these characters, when you're writing, change from what you had in your head to something a little different or better than what you originally planned.
It's when they take a life of their own.
Yeah. So, what was something that happened in the process of writing this book that kind of blew you away, that you're like, wait a minute, that's not what I intended, but this is so much better?
Oh, goodness. Since this is my first one and it's my baby, and I had to learn how to write a book in the process of writing this book, there was a lot of trial and error.
Okay.
And the biggest challenge I had was I ended up having a redundant character. So I had these two characters. I'm like, they're both kind of cool, but they're not really cool. And so I had this brilliant, stupid idea of, let's just combine the two into one. Well, they were not existing in the same location throughout pretty much most of the book. And I'm like, well, how is that going to work? And I ended up ripping one out, changing one, and now he's like the secondary main character. I mean, we've got Katira, who's our noble hero, person, but he ended up being like one of the second most important people in the book. And here he was, like this nobody, came out of nowhere because I had to squish two people together that were like not important. And the entire story shifted to accommodate that storyline. And the story became that. Anyway, if the story reads really weird, because like, you're like, I expect this thing to happen, and it doesn't happen like that, it's probably because I had to twist things, and it was, anyway.
So, you took two action figures, meshed them together, you have a new hero, the story evolved differently because of this new hero. That's not a bad thing.
It ended up being so much more interesting.
Yeah.
And, it influenced how the magic system ended up working. It influenced how, kind of the journey portion ended up working. It actually swapped the main character. The main character originally was Katira's father.
Oh, okay.
And I figured if this was going to be a YA, this really old dude was not going to resonate with, a teenage audience. No one wants to follow around their dad in a story that's not, relatable. And so I had to switch it to her. And so, again, huge challenge. I think I've written this book like 8 times.
That's okay.
This is the winning version now.
Yes, it's the winning version. It's out. No more changes because it is permanent. It's very similar to what happened with, like, Pirates of the Caribbean. Jack Sparrow was supposed to be a side character. And then Johnny Depp came in, showed up, and then with the dynamic, he became more the main character than the intended main character of Will Turner, so...
And if it wasn't for him, that whole movie franchise would have flopped.
Oh, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Jack Sparrow is fantastic and messed up all in the same way. But, you're right. No one wants to follow around their dad. My kids are prime examples of that. I will suggest a book to them. Hey, read this book. It's fantastic. No, it's a dad book. All right. A year later, a friend of theirs says, hey, read this fantastic book. The same book I offered a year ago. They're like, oh my gosh, Dad, have you read this book? It's amazing. I burned through the whole series. Are you kidding me? That's the same book I told you to read a year ago.
It's not exciting if you say it.
I know. It's boring. If
you taint the waters.
Yes. Even though it's the same freaking story or book, yeah.
Absolutely. My oldest is one of these crazy readers, and, he just read through all the Dan Browns. He's 12.
Yeah. That's
probably not the best parenting choice on my part, but They're
She
not
enjoys it.
horrible. I could think of worse.
Yes.
I won't let him touch Game of Thrones, so...
Or I love Michael Brent Collins, but any of his horror stuff, yeah, he should probably...
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little scary. But he's actually reading my book right now. I think he's doing it out of a sense of obligation, because he's cool like that.
Well, props to you on that one. None of my kids have even read my book.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's like, really?
My other kids won't touch it, but they're a little young. No, he's right in the middle, and I want to hover so bad. I'm like, have you gotten to the thing? I can't tell you about the thing that you're going to get to, because if you haven't got to it, that would be major spoiler.
Yes.
So I always have to do the questions just like, where are you now? Mm-hmm. What just happened?
Yes.
Who's your favorite character so far?
Nice. So go ahead.
Yeah.
No, you're fine. So what made you decide to jump into the giant pool of writing? Because, well, face it, where we're at, there are tons of authors everywhere. It seems like you kick a rock and there's another author.
Absolutely true. And it's one of those things where it's just like, some authors are like, I was born with the pen in my hand and I'm destined to create the great next American novel. I grew up wanting to be a doctor because I wanted to, be a superhero and save people. And I thought, that's the most noble, greatest thing a human can do, is go and save lives.
Yeah.
And then I got to college and I realized, 5% of what doctors do is a part I find super amazing. The other 95%, I could burn in a trash fire.
Yeah.
I mean, it's horrible. And I took a couple pre-med classes, and the people in there, it's just like, if this is what my coworkers are going to look like, this is not the place I want to be.
Yeah.
Because you have to have a certain mindset and a certain amount of ambition and complete lack of humor. At least for the people I met. There's some really awesome doctors out there that are awesome. I love my pediatrician, not mine, my kids. I couldn't do it. Yeah. It would bury me. So I had always been a reader. I was never a super social person, and so my entire upbringing was surrounded by really good books. I grew up with Jane Yolen and Brian Jacks and Terry Brooks and Robert Jordan, and they were my friends, and they kept me busy and out of trouble. And, even when I was in orchestra rehearsals, when the second violins had a really long break, I would pull a book out, which I'm sure my conductor loved. And books were a part of my story. And I got to a point where I read a book as an adult, and I'm like, I'm not enjoying this. Yeah. And there was that kind of epiphany moment, and I've heard other authors say this, so I know I'm not making this up, where you're like, I could do this. Mm-hmm. I could make a story that is super enjoyable, and I think I could do better than this current book I've picked up. I'm not going to say what book it is, Twilight, but...
you're good.
I'll give her props. Yeah. It got an entire generation reading again.
Yes.
There was
horrible
a whole horde of these adults that were my age that are like, we don't read because it's not interesting anymore. We have families and lives. And then all of a sudden this phenomenon happened. And it was just pulpy enough where they're like, this is actually really entertaining. And it has, these dramatic moments. And there's all this angst. And it's just like, oh, we like reading now. So I kind of have to say thank you.
Yeah. I don't know. I have my opinions heavy on that series. One, vampires burst into flames. They don't sparkle ever. If they sparkle, it's like the second before they combust.
I keep giggling into the mic. I'm sorry. That probably sounds horrible.
No, you're fine. It's not over the top. It's for what she did and accomplished. It is fantastic. For the people that love it, that's great. Because that's a series they enjoy. It definitely is not for me. Vampires, werewolves are so much different in my mind than what was portrayed in that book. That's all I'll say, because I could just rip it apart, and I don't want to.
Well, there's different camps of people who like it. There's the vampire Lestats, there's the Bram Stokers, and then there's your sparkly YAs, which are, they're fluffier and cleaner, and it's not the dark, gritty underbelly of vampire life that a lot of people really like.
It came off to me as creepy. Here's this he's over 100 years old, and he's pining over a 16-year-old girl, 15, 16-year-old girl, and she just thinks it's so amazing, and I'm just thinking, dude, this guy is a creepy pedophile.
I can totally see that.
And you're totally okay with this, and you want him to bite you to become a vampire, and then there's all this weird stuff happening. Okay, we're still having a story, and then the whole series ends on some stupid weird dream. And then and then she shows him the dream.
I never got that far, so kudos to you for even knowing that.
And then she shows the big bad guy this dream, and he's like, okay, we're good, no more fight. And walks away, and I'm like, what? It was like the weakest ending ever. Yeah.
Oh, honestly, Hunger Games kind of did the same thing, where we had this really strong story, and then the last 40 pages where it's just like, let's write a scrapbook.
Yeah.
In third person.
Yeah, Divergent did that as well. Where
was that a spoiler? I really need to read that one.
The first 2 books are amazing. The third book, yeah. I don't know. There seemed to be a series of books that came out, made into movies, where their ending just didn't, and again, people will probably be mad at me for saying this, the ending just didn't pay off compared to the build-up, is the best way to say it, I guess.
No, it's true. I mean, you get promised something when you start a story.
Yes.
And, like, if it's a romance, you're like, I want these two to be together and happy. If it's a thriller, I want them to survive the thing. If it's a horror, you're like, I want them to survive the thing and maybe kill it. In any story, there's all these expectations, and if those expectations aren't met, it's really disappointing, because it's like, I just read through and spent this many hours of my life hoping to build to this promise, and you didn't give it to me. Bad writer, no cookie.
Yes. So, is this the first in a series, Stonebearer's Betrayal, or is it just a standalone?
I am envisioning it as a trilogy. Okay. I'm actually writing book 3 for my NaNoWriMo project right now.
Nice.
Which is not my favorite way of drafting, but it definitely gets it done.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to be throwing out 30% of it, but I consider that exploration. I would love it to be, the beautiful boxed set with 3 books. Okay, that sounds so hokey.
No, that's awesome. Seriously.
But big stories need lots of books.
Yes.
And big characters deserve to be seen more than once. And, enjoyed and have multiple books.
So, 3 books. First book will be out. It will, and that you get to have your exciting moment, the book signings, and start seeing reviews come in. Try to ignore the bad ones. It is a nice sucker punch to the gut, I will admit that. My 1 star was horrible. However, that was the only 1 star I got. They're not fun to read, so try to take it with a grain of salt. It's hard to do, though.
Part of me is like, this is competition now.
Yeah,
it's like it's the review bingo card. I need at least 2 more 1 stars to fill my line.
Yeah. But no, I mean, this is a fantastic idea. You've got a really cool concept and an idea. The characters are lovable. They're enjoyable. And it definitely creates an environment where you want to flip to the next page, because, it's pulling you through, basically, is what I'm trying to say. There are books out there where you're just like, oh my gosh, when is this? When is something going to happen? Because it gets so boring to read. But you definitely have a great pacing in the book, and it's fun to read. So, for the listeners, because we're running out of time, unfortunately, where can they find you next? Signings, events, or even your social media pages?
Alrighty. To buy the books, it is available at all online book retailers. Okay. So that includes Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and I know there's a couple others out there. If you want to order a signed copy directly from yours truly, my website is Jodi L. Milner Author .wordpress.com. If you search Jodi L. Milner on Google, I know I'm probably in the top 3 listings, only because I've been blogging since when blogging was cool.
You're the top. That's what I did before jumping on. So you're the top.
You Googled me?
I did.
That's like super flattering.
You've been Googled. Yay.
I'm on Instagram. That's like current new love is Instagram.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of fun there, and that's also Jodi.L.Milner. I have a Facebook page. Again, that's Jodi L. Milner Author. If you do Jodi L. Milner, you're 98% guaranteed to find me and not my doppelganger. She's not an author. That's a really fun story I cannot tell anywhere.
Okay. We'll talk about it off air.
There's a promise there. No, I'm not going to share that one. I think that covers it. The official release is November 13th. So if you're listening to this and that date has passed, you can jump straight online and get it right now.
Sweet. Okay, so everyone, great book. I'm getting tongue-tied. Anyways, this is a great book. You should pick up a copy now. The best part is Christmas is coming up. So if you have someone that loves to read in your family, you can snag a copy for them. If you want a signed copy, go to Jodi's website and you can get a signed copy for them, or check out her social media pages or her website to see where she's going to suddenly appear next, and you can get a copy from her there. So with that said, pick up a copy, and we'll catch you next time.